Right, it's Mike and the rest of the board here.
Yeah, hi.
So we're going to get started, so I just wanted to patch you in.
Sure.
All right, thanks.
Confirm. Give me a second.
Okay. All right, so with that, I'll call the meeting for December here to order. We have a quorum with 4 of our board members are here at the facility, and Raid is dialed in from the phone. Our notice was posted on the exit gate board, which is now lighted.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That works
the exit
great.
gate-
I left, it was light
It was
outside.
nice
Oh.
and big,
Yeah.
too.
Is that, yeah, good.
So that was out there, and as well as on the website. With the
It's
slide
been a long time
package,
coming.
yeah, I mean, it does the job for now, and I also ordered the replacement letters since the other ones were weathered and cracking, so they
Yeah.
have those now too.
Good.
From prior meeting minutes, the November meeting minutes were with the package, the slide package I sent out. I don't know if anyone saw any changes to make on there or anything.
No.
Okay.
Well, I can motion to,
Okay. Kathy's going to motion to waive the reading of the November minutes and accept as presented earlier today.
Secondly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You good with the meeting minutes, right?
Hi.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, so for the rest of here, we'll go through the financials again, and go through our usual dashboards. From continuing business, we'll get an update on the recreation area, a logo redesign, survey results, and then there's 2 of them here. We don't have any slides on it, but I'll talk to them. We have our process documentation, take a look at that, or talk about kind of next steps to review and kind of update where necessary on those. And then it's time for a renewal for the JCC here. So
okay.
I'll discuss that with everybody then.
Yep.
So and I can't see this is awful.
You need to change places with me?
Nah, I'm good,
now?
I'll just stand up. I've been sitting all day.
Do you need me to hit the button?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So from November's performance here, it was we didn't have the greatest month. We had some expenses come through, whatnot, and around timing that we've had favorable performance on in the previous months, and now they've come in. From an income perspective, we're basically there. There was a $18 difference on the Avalon assessment income. I think there was a reversal for somebody. I think they were selling their home and they prepaid and had a reversal on that. From an expenses perspective, G&A was about $3,200 over. $1,800 of that was with Nick and the social committee. But actually, Bernadette coded the holiday lights into social, and they actually have their own general ledger account, which is GL account 6800 under, I believe, grounds. So I'm going to email her and tell her to reclass it so it matches in there, because we do have the budget
Right.
in that GL.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous there, it was 3,300 over. A portion, about over half of that, was the holiday bonus for the guards and some of the other contribution then we made to the CAI Central Florida for the gift cards for the underprivileged families and that. So it's kind of a dumping ground, and I'm gonna have Bernadette look at maybe just creating some new general ledger accounts. One of them should be the guard bonus.
Right.
I mean, it's a
right.
yearly thing. I don't want it to hit salaries because that needs to tie back to the contract. Whatever we do
Yeah.
outside of the contract it just should be a line
We
item.
do it every year,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So not like we
predictable.
don't
It's-
do it. Mhm.
So we need a general ledger account created for that. Legal was favorable, and that's timing. I approved the invoice today as it got sent over to me. So that's just a timing issue for the $1,200 favorable there. And then our management fees were $900 and some change favorable there. Grounds were about $4,000 favorable overall, $2,100 in the routine infrastructure maintenance account, $400 in tree removal, $300 in the holiday lights, which, again, that's we did a straight line budget on that, and maybe we need to go back and make that as a note for next time, because they only come in intervals. The one time to put them up, and then the one time to take them down and store
Right.
them at once. So we're actually doing $333 a month or whatever it is for the total, or $300 a month, and they should probably be timed in when we actually get hit with the full expense.
Yeah.
Overall grounds, that's the Bright View, $300 again there, and then irrigation, that's the repairs for irrigation is $200. We had no repairs off of the November inspection. The gatehouse here, We were 2,000 over on security services. I want to dig into that because that seems a little high for timing.
Do you think it's the,
Well, that wasn't supposed to take effect until January, and I hope it didn't. And we'll discuss that when we get into the access control slide, because I'm still not a happy camper about how that was communicated. And then maintenance and repair on the gatehouse. That was just a miscellaneous work we had done, primarily with the AC heater unit in there. And then electricity was up 300. I don't know. I mean, we see the utilities were up the same in terms of electricity. So,
cold?
yeah. Reserve expense is what it is, every month the same. So total expense was 2,400 over for the month, unfavorable. Now, if we look at year-to-date income there, we've got the, income is always is off by that 23,000. So if you see there on the top, it's almost 31,000 that we've had to book for the Avalon assessment credit and related in the income line. But that's been offset by 5,700 in late fee income and interest, and then $1,000 overall interest on general income prepaids. G&A
Will we
there,
still see that next year?
No.
In 2009, okay, good.
because the rates, the assessment rates, we carried them over, so they're going to be the same. There's no credit next year.
Okay,
So that'll perform, it should always be positive
right, okay.
income, because everybody's got the base.
Right,
It's whatever we book in terms of late fees, interest on late fees, or delinquent fees, and all that is what gives us positive performance. From a G&A perspective, it's about $800 for the year, so let's say about flat even. $9,700 in management fees, $2,800 in social, which is actually more because of the incorrect booking on that. $1,400 on legal fees, which isn't too bad compared to last year and the year before. $700 on printing, and then $600 on office supplies. Grounds is favorable by $38,000 for the year to date through November.
that's good, that's really good.
20 grand in the rim, and then whatever we end up, and I think I mentioned this at budget time, so whatever we end up with as the balance, and it'll probably be 22,000 like it was last year in the routine infrastructure maintenance. We do an end of the year journal entry to push that into reserves. So that 20 grand will go down into reserves in that case.
Okay.
So 7,100 on the tree removal, 2,900 on ground, so we've almost got $3,000 from that price pullback from Brightview we did.
Well, we need to talk about that at some point too, right?
I'm sure it's coming in the new year.
Okay.
1,800 on wall repair and 1,800 on annuals. From the guardhouse perspective, we're about $300 favorable overall. It's $1,900 in police services. We have been buying supplies up there. We just got them new fire extinguishers, replaced the old ones up there. So and I think we're almost through that list. I think there's a few more things in terms of some cones and other things we wanted to get off of Alan's list, and then we'll be able to close that out. Security services, $900. So I mean, we were running favorable until this month, which pushed us down to $900 unfavorable for the year. And then cameras, $700. This GL actually goes away because any cameras we buy are subsequently pushed against reserves. And then they're not really purchased out of expense because they have the 18 to 24 month useful life on them. $797 installed after tax on each one. Utilities, 2,300. We've shortened the gap on that one. 5,400 on the irrigation, and then 3,100 on the electric performance. I know irrigation was up a little bit in November, and it'll probably be up in December too, because we installed the new landscaping over by the Boca Point, the dry pond entrance over there. Pulled that out, so they've been running those extra, which is probably why we have the notice from Orange County. So we'll have. I told Brightview they got to adjust it back.
Yeah.
On that. So reserve expense is 85,000 so far we've put in. So total expense we're favorable 35,000 for the year. So if we even had a break even, we would be at probably about 59,000 of net income for the year almost. So, but I think year to date from a net income perspective, I don't think we're going to make our stretch target of the 5.4. But I could be wrong on that.
But the Avalon refund impacted that, did it not?
Yeah, significantly.
Yeah.
Because we were forecasting almost 10% of net income before that. Operating surplus on hand, so our surplus balance, this is not reserve, this is just free cash to fund operating expenses or other purchases. 251,000. That gives us 467 days on hand. So you can see right there, we're targeting a year-end forecast of 339. That's going to be probably in the understanding the seasonality behind December results, probably going to be pushing close to 392, 394 days. So we're going to significantly pop that up based upon the performance on the expense side. Then as you can see on the right-hand side, there's the net income. Right now we're at 2.7%, and last year we performed at 5.4%, so we need to double that in a month. It's not unheard of, but we'll need to blow the doors off, but we'll see. Assessment receivables here. So right now, on average, we've had 27,000 outstanding. For November, you can see it almost looks, it's highly predictable in chunks of 3. So December will be even lower. But if you look at the 5.3% on the right side, where the assessment receivables versus net income, that was driven primarily because we changed the denominator in the function. Because revenue dropped, it was calced off of $551,000 of projected revenue versus $516,000 of revenue after we revised the Avalon stuff. So that's what pushed that up arbitrarily. So if we look at aging dollars here, as you can see, we've got barely anything in current, barely anything in 30 days. Last month we showed the 30 days and 60 days are basically flip-flopped, so you can see those just moved over. I'm not concerned about the 60 days. Looking at the roll call of those, I think those are probably in process, if not already paid, the majority of them. Just knowing the accounts and that. And then from a 90 days perspective, you got almost 19,000. And out of that, out of our total AR balance of the 27,000, you've got the top 3 accounts make up 71% of the total balance. So if those top 3 accounts stripped out, I mean, you're performing a heck of a lot better.
Right.
The number 1 account has foreclosure and bankruptcy on it, so we're in a monitoring status on that since it's still in the court somewhere. The second account,
it's always going to show in here until that resolves.
It resolves one way or another.
Right.
And on that one, it can drag on years. We've had that stuff before.
It's going to be here a while. Okay.
The second account, the second largest account, we did the cost deposit to start the foreclosure process officially, so that should be heading to the courts for a hearing on that. And then the third one, I believe they're on I want to say intent to lien or a lien already placed. I have to clarify that with Larson. So Steve Ritter, who handles all the collection stuff for us there, he's actually out on PTO until end of next week almost. So. And then if you look at the assessment receivables aging by homeowner account, you can see 90 days you only got 6 homeowners. Like I said, 3 of those accounts are the ones making up 70+%. You had that jump in the 60 days there, but looking at the pay record of those folks and that make that up, most of those will fall by the wayside. Project dashboard here, so not a lot of changes overall. We will, they weren't quite, I don't know if they finished all the lights today, the install. They said it would be at worst by tomorrow, the end of day tomorrow. I know they still have a bunch of them to pick up the globes.
Yeah.
The old ones that are laying around.
Yeah.
But I'm going to probably do a drive-through when I get back and see if I saw 2 that were out, not working, so I'll open the ticket on those and I'll check the other neighborhoods. But coming in the front way, with the new ones in front of the gatehouse, and then coming up each entryway boulevard, I mean, it really pops.
Yeah.
The majority of the other stuff we'll cover in the 2026 program slide, which is later in here. Website keeps trending up, and that was due. We've had the Halloween contest there, the newsletter that we now publish two months of that, so that we see people going through doing the click through on the MailChimp that comes through.
Yeah.
So you're continuing to drive folks there, and I believe we had a couple new homeowners who did put through their email consent stuff, so we did move the needle on that. And I think there was one, they were both in Boca Point. if memory serves. Now, for the status reports, ARB, I thought it was 12/7. It was a basic review, I think, of some paint colors and whatnot. I don't think
And
there's,
trees, we
yeah.
had some tree things, yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's any other major items to report at this point
No.
on ARB. I think there is one outstanding ARB request. I have to go look, and maybe we can make a note on that, Maria, to get with ARB at Leland, because they said they sent it in online, but I'm not showing a record of it. I don't know, maybe it came to them at the email. You know, some people use the online nomenclature to mean email or a website.
You
So.
give me the address or?
I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't recall seeing an email come through on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, but social committee, Nick got a red on his health indicator, but I think, and I made note of that, we'll reclassify the $1,500 to the 6,800 GL and be done with it.
That's the only one, right? The 1,500?
Yeah, there's a couple others. I've got notes on the financials at home. I was just
Okay.
gonna summarize them and,
So you want me to hold off on this?
yeah, if you want to, because I can just bullet point it
Okay.
really quick, because I did the analysis last night. So I think we've got the webpage deployed for the online voting earlier than usual, or earlier than Halloween. Nick came through with our pictures yesterday. I downloaded what do we have, 73 homes?
73 homes that participated.
Oh, awesome.
So I will get loading those to the site, release it, and then send out the announcement email reminder. So I think, what did we say, it was gonna be the 20th to like the 25th? I forget.
Yep, I believe so. That it was till the 25th we were running.
Yeah. And then, so once we got that page, like I said before, the template put together, it's a lot
It's
easier.
Yeah.
Basically, I just had them take the Halloween one and just swap out Halloween
Swap
for
it out,
holiday
yeah.
decorating.
Yeah, I mean, that
I'm like,
makes
whatever's the
sense.
quickest,
Pictures, yeah.
we know it works.
Right.
So the back end, the PHP stuff all works, so that's what we
Yeah.
keep it as is.
Just as long as they can run 73 images instead of,
We'll find
you know,
out.
because Halloween didn't have that much. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing, so.
I mean,
Well, we'll
what I
soon
did
find
is
out, won't we?
what I did is I already cropped down the images so that they're 1080, and then on top of that, I lowered the resolution a bit so they're not as heavy. So the website should be able to run them,
Yeah.
no problem.
See, IT here. So like I mentioned, we have the website or web page open. The Phase 2 web enhancements, I know we've talked about those. We have a list. Maria, you had sent me that email that said that Leland was looking at potentially pulling things back in-house, like with our custom site.
Yes.
So I just think we put that stuff on hold at this point, because if we need to port it over, then I don't want a whole lot of new code in there. We can just define it for the Leland IT.
So Leland will start coding instead of outsourcing that? Is that what you're saying?
They're thinking of bringing that in-house.
Okay.
I don't know about the coding part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know
So, and then I guess in January, we'll need a meeting with Diane and
yet.
whoever on there to see, because I like to understand if you guys are committed to bringing it in-house. I don't have an issue with that. I just want to make sure that we understand, here's the enhancement list. Maybe if you want to build that in the background, we cut over it a month later to have it done with the stuff we want, and then we can just flip it and be done with it. Infrastructure and access control, tennis court replacement. We got 2 additional quotes in process, because I remember we had 2 before. We have 2 more in process. I reached out to some folks. Hopefully we'll have all that come in, and then I can summarize and send out before the end of the year, and we can talk about it in the January meeting, what we want to do on that with the fence. The gatehouse lightning rod, work was completed. I think it was last week they completed that, so that is officially done.
That went as long as the sign, didn't it?
Yeah. I mentioned the dry pond landscape upgrade was completed November 29th.
Yep.
The heater at the gatehouse, we had, was it Bright Electric come out and service it because it wasn't working, and then it worked, and then it just died. So we're gonna have to go out and get quotes. The quotes they sent was like $4,300 for replacement. For the, I'm like, no. So we're gonna go out and get that, but in the interim, we got him a space heater. So if it gets cold, they got a space heater, which has been working good up there. Like I mentioned, Duke has started the installation of the new fixtures. Should be done no later than tomorrow if it's not already done. Then we have 4 pine trees at the recreation area that need to be removed. Brightview Arbor Care has it scheduled for 12/29. So they're gonna cut them and then also do 6 inches of stump grinding. Since it's up in the recreation area, flush cut, you're still gonna have a lip of some sort. I don't want anybody, kids running and catching this, so they're gonna, because it's right next to the ligustrums or whatever the trees are that border where the tot lot is. Because there's 1, 2, 3 dead, and there's another one in a bush that's kind of hanging.
Right.
So all 4 of those will be taken out and the stumps remediated. Our pool damage thing, that's still in process of recovery of those damages, but
Right.
Tom Slayton at Larson, he's working on it, so it's
Okay.
always slow. We also have some new tire burn marks show up in Boca Point. You may have noticed driving around.
Yeah.
We did capture the incident on our surveillance cameras out there, matched it back to the timing, and have all the surveillance to pinpoint who the resident is or who was at that, in the vehicle at the time. So I talked with Tom on that, and we can charge the homeowner for that removal of those tracks, which I think we need to, because it's going to take a warm or a hot pressure washer. It can't be just standard on that. So, because it's on the pavers and it's into the asphalt section.
And all this was done on purpose, was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fishtail twice.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and it's all down Boca. I mean, it goes to where our Boca Point sign is. So
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's quite.
in order to make sure we're running it as we can, because I'll instruct Tom to send the letter. We'll have a letter with 14 days saying hey, we've captured this. You're basically on the hook for whatever we come back with a quote. So I'll make the motion to authorize Larson and Associates to send a letter and put in place the infrastructure to charge the homeowner account for the removal of these tire marks. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
I
So I do have some quotes in process called Mike and Diane Honnell, and then the guys who usually do the sidewalk stuff. They're pretty good. I forget their name. So, upcoming items, the rec area, that's ongoing in process, and the tennis court fence, I changed to January 2019, and we can look and see what we want to do with that with the new quotes, 2 quotes that are coming in. So, moving to continuing business, 2026, here's just a quick slide on the new LED fixtures. Nick was kind enough to provide the nighttime view there. So as you can see, you've got the old fixture and then the new fixture. And I think it's kind of, you see how clean the light is on the new fixture versus if you see what his camera picked up, the orange peel and the orange blast through the entire photo. I mean, it's almost like sepia tone
Yeah.
on that.
It's until you put them next to each other that you're like,
You don't notice
oh
it.
yeah, that's not what light is. That's orange. Yeah. Yeah.
I did want to make reference to the painting of the light fixture poles. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of this project. That is handled under a separate work order or a separate team from who does the installs, a separate third-party vendor. We're still on the...
So it won't be Duke, it'll be somebody we hire, or will it be Duke?
It'll be Duke.
Oh,
The
okay.
people doing the installs are ALQ or something like that. They subbed it out. And they'll do the painting, but that just is a separate work order, and I'll start pushing on that once we get confirmation all these are done. And then I figure we'll go around again, Nick. I think we need to take a look at what the LEDs brought to the table to address the
new
dark
dark
spots
yeah.
and see if they still line up. And what Jerry over there at Duke, he said just send them a note and they can work through that.
Yeah, maybe drive around and circle some, because I know last time we were a little bit, we were too much with it, but there's certain spots that are just too dark that we really should.
Are
few
you
here and
saying
there.
put another pole in?
Yeah, like there's
Okay.
certain homes that are rare circumstances and how they were, whether they're in a curve or
Right,
just
yeah.
it's a T intersection or something, but they just didn't put a light where it needed to, and you know, certain places for safety wise.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in turns or they're at intersections.
Right.
There should be some sort of lighting, so
Okay.
it's
Okay.
probably good to review it while we're at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can take a look at that and then put that through. And we'll keep up on the paint item.
Yep. Do you remember that light post that was knocked down by the garbage truck? Do you remember that? The one
Yeah,
right
yeah.
as you come out of the Circle Point, right?
Mhm.
That one's freshly painted.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at that one, I'm like, oh, they're gonna look really, really nice because
Yeah,
you can
it
see
looks
how it
good,
would look
yeah.
to have a new one.
Yeah.
So when they get repainted, they're gonna
It
look.
makes me,
It's gonna-
reminds me that I probably need to do my mailbox.
Yeah.
Right, they're all gonna look nice in my mailbox. so-
Yeah.
It was funny, we had somebody who got a violation letter about their mailbox being painting or something like that.
Mhm.
And they said, you know, they just want to replace it. So they emailed me for where to
For a
go,
new
because
one?
we have the one vendor who does that out of Tampa, Mailbox
Yeah.
Designs or something. And, you know, he made a suggestion, you know, why doesn't, you know, the HOA should just have somebody come in and paint them all at one time,
Yeah.
so everybody gets them done, you know.
Be smart.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Be,
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I would be open to
it's
that.
affordable. Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you need it replaced or something, that's how you go order it
Yeah.
and get
Right.
it
If
done.
a pickup truck smashes into it,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in order, you know, for painting, I mean,
Because it's just the post, right? Or would it be the whole box?
it would have to be the whole box.
So they remove letters and
Yeah, I don't know what the best way
freshen
to
up
do
the
that.
flag.
Yeah, the red flag, yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
it's a
we can
lot.
start looking at it. I mean, just look at it, doesn't
Well, it'd
mean
be 276 of them, right?
277.
276. Oh,
Yeah.
right, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Being
Yeah.
built.
I mean, we can look at it.
Maybe
No-
just quote
Nothing,
it, yeah.
nothing concrete, but, you know, we can get a price. If it comes back as sticker shock, then obviously we'll
Yeah.
cease and desist on that.
Right. Okay.
The recreation area here, the bench order fulfillment, it was originally supposed to be 12/12, it's now 12/28. The delay just showed up on the website
Oh,
for them,
that's
Dumar.
all right.
Probably the holiday season, so
Yeah.
shipping's just a nightmare now.
Yep.
Anyway.
The volleyball court, I'm working on getting a quote to remove the posts and get those
Mhm.
going. And then I'm in discussions with a HOA over in Waterford Lakes area who's in need of sand.
Oh,
They
We
might
would
be,
sell our sand.
conveniently, we happen to have some.
actually, if they, I told them they can just take the sand.
Right,
Yeah,
For
they
the
can pay
amount,
for it,
for the
yeah.
amount of, for the amount of money, because unfortunately that sand is so heavy and dense.
Mm.
If you get a, what's it called, a trailer to put it in, you can only do it a third of a full load because it hits the max weight capacity. So you're
Yeah.
gonna be running loads
Oh.
constantly in and out, and everything, I think it's $575 a load.
Mm.
I mean, you'd be
Right.
$5,000-6,000 just for removal.
Mhm.
So if they wanna
Dump
come and
truck.
take it, yeah.
Dump truck.
Getting a dump truck. Yeah.
Dump truck.
Yeah.
That would be the best solution in that scenario, because that's a lot of
That's
sand,
awesome,
right?
Mike. I mean,
There's a
so
lot of
what do they
sand.
do?
How
to
deep
put-
does that volleyball court go?
You're probably I think in the middle, I think it goes like 18 inches almost.
Dang.
Wow, that's a lot.
And
So are they
underneath it, there's a
looking-
pavement. There's pavement underneath.
Yeah.
Under the whole
It's a
thing
lot
or
of
just the
sand.
center?
We have to
We'll
uncover it
see,
to find
right,
out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because there used to be, I think, it seemed like a tether ball, somebody said, like,
There what? That was
Okay.
what was there.
so, but if we can get the post removed, get the sand removed, we'll put a fabric fence around it with the proper warning signs, and then, you know, as we're, you know, working through either the synthetic putting green, or landscape, or whatever goes
Yeah.
there, but if we can just
Right.
get rid of it and get it pushed, let's see
Be
what we
great.
can
It'll
do.
keep it off the basketball courts too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The solar charging station, I've got 2 of the 5 estimates in, so we can review them all at the January meeting. So this is essentially, we'll put up a solar station where you have, you know, a place to plug in your phone, a USB outlet, just to get juice there.
Yeah.
It'll be solar
That'd be nice.
charge. Kind of an interesting take. A lot of those are popping up in parks now.
Mhm.
Would
Yep.
we be able to have regular outlets? Like,
Yes, it has it in there.
okay. Because like if someone wants to go with a laptop
Yep,
and go plug in there?
it has that in there.
Okay, cool.
Yep, you've got that.
Very good.
You've got the 3-prong option in there. So
That's
handle any
perfect.
battery pack, and then the USB is in there also. So,
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I'd love to know the details of how much battery capacity those things hold. Like how much that they advertise it as, oh, you have this much worth of charging, or like.
They said the ones
On
they
a
have
full day
like,
sun or something
Well,
like
like
that.
if
Yeah.
the battery was to happen to be full, like how
Mhm.
much capacity do those things have, like
They-
for how busy they can be?
they had the ones that they put into the park over in San Diego,
Yeah.
where this vendor cites the case study.
Yeah.
They say they get probably anywhere from 75 to 85 plugins a day for laptops and all kinds of arrays.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
And
That's a
once
lot.
once the battery
Mhm.
the battery is charged, you have 7 full days. It doesn't need charging again before it runs down.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good.
Wow.
So the cells,
Wow,
the
yeah.
cells.
7 days of bad weather, and we're still
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So the cells do have they're much improved over previous solar
Yeah.
stuff. That never used to hold the charge.
No,
anything.
yeah.
And,
Because
um,
my
Doesn't make sense.
my
That's all right.
lights outside by the
That makes
pool
sense.
certainly don't hold it.
That was the material. I'll send you the material.
Yeah, let me see, because there's something that makes sense there.
Well, and from most of them that you've checked, they've got warranties, right? In case one of those solar panels gets hit by a tree branch or.
5-year warranty.
Okay.
That's an act of God.
Yeah.
Covered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one's like a hurricane.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
covered.
Tree
I
randomly.
just don't know how.
Yeah.
I just know solar panels aren't. They're not
But you would
cheap
have
to
their
replace,
support,
right?
so you could get, if that did happen, you needed another, they could come out and service it.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
the one other item, the paver program we talked about there, we should have the draft, I guess I want to say selling page up from the company. And I can share it on, hopefully by 12/28 is when I talk to the Mark, I believe it is over there.
Okay.
And take a look at that, see if it matches that, because, they have the logo, they've got I told them they can't put their branding anywhere on it, except,
Underneath.
yeah.
So it's
Except
going in the
describing,
ground.
the fulfillment is by X and this company is here, and I said, if you want to put a link to your website, as long as it's a pop-out, I don't care, but you're not gonna splash your logo all over it.
Right.
Yeah, not on the actual
Yeah.
pavers. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, even on the page, I don't like the,
On the webpage, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
so, and then they'll have the 2 sizes of the pavers, and then I gave them the color codes that we looked at, I think, 2 meetings ago, I wanna say.
Mhm.
And we can always change those, doesn't matter, but those will be the ones that'll pop up and, input your
Yeah,
text and all
we'll have
that.
to kind of get together and do a layout too of how we want to start it, right? Where we
Mhm.
wanna,
To me, I would have it,
I like it at that monument there.
oh yeah, the one, I was thinking of the website, we could do it in frame, to have it so it's in the website,
Yeah,
so you have to go to the website versus having a separate link,
yeah.
I'd rather have it an in-frame program, but I think we had talked about that McDowell Park, or whatever,
Yeah.
that piece right there.
Starting it there.
Yeah.
Start there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then go around that, and that probably needs cleaning too, because it's,
It does need cleaning.
yeah, that whole thing, so. Hopefully we can get that from, by the end of the year, take a look at it, and we can talk about it in January, in terms of if we're happy with it, how to release it, when we release it,
Mhm.
all the details.
Well, our
on
new
that.
logo is gonna be, it's
Yeah,
gonna be dependent on that too, right? Or will it?
no, because you're getting text
Oh,
put in,
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not contingent on any logo
Right,
update
right.
on that.
Mhm.
Speaking of logo,
Okay.
we had the survey went out on the 11th. I think it ended on Monday. I think I had it on there so that was what, the 19% or
Mhm.
18th, some whatever it was. We had 110 responses with 78 complete responses. So the complete responses were every question was answered, notwithstanding any comments, because that's not always optional.
Yeah.
But every of the radio buttons were answered.
Right.
Okay.
So from the total respondents there, and this was the last question, was the preferred option to pick 2. It was the option 1 that got the most. You can see there,
I
53.
think it's the better transition too, from our existing to that one,
Mhm.
Yeah.
honestly.
And then if you look at the key takeaways, and these are just the 2 main ones. I mean, the comments were a little bit all over the place, and I think that's because there are 4 options here, and trying to compare and contrast can
Yeah.
sometimes be a pain. But
Yeah.
what the green color that we have needs to be darker, kind of in that. I don't know if it needs to be as dark as what we have now, but I mean it needs to be darker than that, what, cool green or whatever that
Oh,
is.
yeah, the sagey kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and I've got a couple other ideas on that one, but we'll work through that. And then the majority wanted, of option one, as it looks, but there was no clear support for a full redesign, which is really kind of option 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
So it's more
Yeah.
transitional
Yeah.
versus transformational
Yeah,
in terms
exactly.
of what we're looking at.
Yep.
Now we did get some comments about on option 1 specifically, the Turtle Creek, the name, the font. I don't know what font we use today, but I wouldn't mind that font would be fine to
That's-
use again.
yeah.
to
It's
read.
like a
Mhm.
Trajan, yeah. I know
Versus
exactly
that.
which font that is, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be one. And we would want the turtle to be like the turtle we have now versus
Yeah,
the,
not swimming,
yeah.
like the one in
So
option
keep
4.
it the one like in option 4 where it's bird's
Yeah.
eye view.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, just the same as we have it today.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I'll send. I think I sent over the full package, and I'll post it out online to the website too when I get a chance. And then I'll send. I'm still downloading all the comments because
Yeah.
those
So
are.
we're good with the silver and instead
The
of
silver
gold,
didn't get. I mean,
or
it,
silver?
I don't know if the rendering didn't do it justice. It needs
No,
to be
because
more.
it does look gray.
It needs to be more platinum-ish,
Yeah,
for lack of a better term.
yeah.
It also depends on what your background is. If you have a white background,
It washes it out.
yeah, it's,
Mhm.
something that we have to remember for design-wise is if we have, when we are doing a contest or when we are doing materials that go sent out, we should really have something that is contrasted. We
Mhm.
want to look at everything from our words. Like here, we can put Turtle
Mhm.
Creek. The original
In
logo is in white.
yeah.
And it's surrounded by green. Now, let's say we didn't have surrounded by green. You obviously couldn't put a white logo on a white piece of paper. So we may have to do a few different designs of just the swapping of colors.
Right.
Meaning that it would contrast if we're putting it on a dark subject, that the background or whatever it is would contrast.
And that really comes
So.
down to having a, what you want to call a brand design document, which
Right.
I
Yeah.
called in a favor from a guy I know who works at Campbell Ewald. This is all they do for their customers. So I said, I sent them basically, look at option 1, look at current logo. These are some of the responses we're getting. Offer some suggestions on the color because they've got the actual color temperature meter. So what kind of emotions does a certain color evoke? What does it mean?
Okay.
You
Okay.
know?
Oh, yeah, that's
All right.
That
that's
type of
cool.
thing. And he was going to he'll put together, they have a template and they just start filling it in. But we'll have the design standards document, which will tell us, if you have a letterhead, this is what your letterhead has to look like. This is what your slides
Yeah.
all have to
Right,
be branded
right,
as.
right.
This
I
is what the
gotcha.
website has to have, their
Yeah.
color palette type of thing.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
That takes all the guesswork out of it. It goes down to the granular level of this is the exact size for like all of your slides. Your header should be 18-point font, should be black as the
Yeah.
top, blue is the secondary,
Right,
17,
right, right.
18 point on the
Yeah.
top, 12 to 13 on the bottom. It goes into that level of detail.
Perfect.
Now, the great thing is when the company is done with our general description of what we want for the logo, they're going to still send over the finished product, but they're going to send over the editing files as well.
Mhm.
So notice how for option 1, it's got the logo on the left, but it on the right. If for our materials, we want to do it on the left and then on the right, or just the
Or
logo,
at the bottom,
just the
on
word.
top, and, yeah, I
Um,
gotcha.
Mhm.
I'm going to later on, once we've settled on all that, that's going to be kind of torn apart so we have multiple uses. Like our gate, for example, has the logo on the front.
But this company will help us with that too, right? They'll put all that together, right?
Yeah, because they'll
Yeah.
have the business card standard, they'll have
Right.
letterhead standard, they'll have web
And
branding
some of that
standards.
may change where that logo is
Yeah,
depending on
the good thing is we'll
material.
have edited files or editing files. So any company that needs to make
So
adjustments and
everything will be
move something
parsed out
around.
and, okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's not like these companies are giving it to us and it's set in stone.
Right, gotcha.
We're still actually getting stuff that if we want to change, any
So
company
the
can.
Or we could
turtle
pass-
is separate from Creek, that's separate from the logo.
You'll
So
have
we
the
can
editable
change
file
if
so
we
you
want,
can just
yeah.
copy it over and change it, but you could hand it off to someone else you wanted to.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they're
To
giving
this
us editing
company,
files.
right, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
gotcha.
What
Perfect.
program are they using for it?
I don't know. I usually don't design logos. I just
It's not my,
yeah.
Yeah.
not my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
That's why you passed it on.
don't care.
Yeah.
Just
So I
make
think,
it- just
so I think
make
our
it
next
better.
steps on this should be refine option one,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and then I think we
refine.
present it back for feedback much in the same manner. Now you're gonna have current logo, transitional logo. Now that'll be the feedback that
Right.
makes the determining factor of yay or nay at that
Yep.
point. So now that you've taken a lot of the 2 through 4 out, I think it's a lot easier from a conceptualization perspective to say, yeah, current, this makes sense, or, and get the feedback, and then if there's another iteration after that, we see a continuing trend, we can do that, but we should hopefully have everything, I would say, locked up by February.
Good.
on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, this,
And then we can
we
start
should move forward with it.
laying out implementation or brand standards, that type of thing, that we would need to look at that point.
Yeah. Have we heard anything from the county, or am I jumping ahead?
Jumping ahead.
Okay,
No, but we haven't.
okay.
I would not anticipate anything until probably middle of January, late January,
Okay.
because I know
Regarding the
that,
grant?
yeah, since I know that they don't have a grant meeting in December for the holidays.
Oh, okay.
So they have one in January, which is pretty packed in terms of people, usually. And I've reached out, and they're gonna give me a call when it gets ready to go for review, because I'll probably end up going to the meeting
Okay, good.
to push it,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Very good.
New business, we had the 2 new business items. I don't have slides for them here, but we can just talk to them. The first one is we'll do the JCC contract renewal. So basically, we have the 12 meetings here once a month. There's no change in the price. It's still $720 annually for 12 meetings. So that's $60 for 2.5 hours. They are going to, and we'll talk to them in January, they're going to put us onto they'll let us access the internet that is not the guest.
Oh, the high-speed network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll improve. We'll see where that goes. But I got that from,
That would
put
help.
that in. But I asked Lori, who's the one who coordinates all this,
Mhm.
instead of us doing this every year, can't we just lock in like a 2-year contract? Here are all the dates for the next 2019, 2020. Give it to us for $720 a year, and we'll pay you January 1st of 2019. We'll pay you January 1st of 2020. So,
If they want to do it that long.
well, if we want to. I mean, it's a mutual out. You
I
get
guess
30
so.
days notice on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I'm for that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
because
that.
I know we've communicated all the 2019s went out with the first communication package for the annual meeting. Correct.
Mhm.
All right.
And
That
we're
went out
gonna
today.
and we are gonna start posting them at the rec area.
Yeah, once they get the quote in for putting that,
Mhm.
repurposing that post
Yeah.
and putting that thing over there. And then they'll all be loaded into the website, so you can just search for 2019
Mhm.
by board meetings and have 12 of them come up, 2020. But that gives us, I guess you want to say, price certainty then for 2 years.
Yeah, I guess that makes
Right.
sense.
Yep.
So,
I'll motion for that.
Yeah, second that one.
all in favor of accepting?
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
For 2 years?
Yes. So, the other item that I had on the agenda to talk about was our overall processes. So we have a process around, ARB submission. What's the timing? You put it in, you have to wait 30 days, here's how it's communicated back,
It's not
that type of
good.
thing.
Mhm.
And we need to look at that. We also need to look at, what is the violation, process? Because I think of all the information we have on the website, there should just be a visual, and I'm putting it in like a Visio, that tells you each of the gates, you get your first notice at X, 30 days to reconcile, you get second, so people can see what's going on, and then we can take a look at it again, in terms of, does this make sense, does it follow the state, state does, I don't remember the state, do they define, they only define collections, correct? Or if you're fining, in terms of a process.
They define fining and collections will go through your docs.
Mm-hmm, okay. And that would be the other one we look at, would be collections,
Mhm.
just so we know, if you get your late notice, and then if you get an intent to lien, what does that mean? What's the timing? I don't think that's very clear, and there's not a heck of a lot of people who want to pop open either our documents or the statute 720 to look
Right,
at
to
the granular
understand,
detail, which
right,
is a
yeah.
little befuddling on the language side.
Maybe the
Yeah.
legal
Yeah.
set amount of dates, right?
So
Yeah.
you're thinking of maybe having under the ARB section of the website kind of a violation process?
hmm And then you'd have, you'd have a violation process, a collections process. The other one that I asked Tom Slayton on is, about 2 years ago, I think it was, the state had came across that you have to, and Kent had there's some verbiage that changed in terms of homeowners viewing documents, the core documents of the association. So we signed off on it because it defined, you have to make a reservation, there has to be someone from the management company in the room with you. You can have it photocopied, it's 25 cents a copy, that's payable. Anything over a certain amount of hours is like $25 an hour, that goes to the management company, something like that. But since we have all of our documents online,
Right. There's no point in that, is there?
and I'm gonna ask Tom if, from that, can we change the language? Because if you really want something, all you have to do is go to the website and go out there and, we
Talk
have,
yourself, right?
yeah, it's instead of it's a pull system at that point, it's the inventory
Right.
is all out there of every meeting minute, financial report.
So homeowners don't have to pay for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and-
I mean, the only thing that would
Okay.
be necessitate that was if you wanted to look at specific, I guess, unit information, like, ARB application stuff, because that doesn't get disclosed, but that could be reconciled with another potential, if you automate something or to that. But
Right, another process. right?
Yeah. But Tom's gonna come back to me on that, and the other thing I asked him, because we continue to have, I guess, a hodgepodge of ways that people are requesting decals. Fair amount do it online with your vehicle decal thing, hey, I got a new car, or, somebody had their windshield replaced and you want, no problem, boom, comes right in. Some of them send it to Haley Pena at Leland Management, who hasn't worked there
is
forever,
right.
because that was on an old paper copy. And then some people they get something from the gatehouse, which is different than the other paper copy, which is different. So you're getting stuff, I'm getting stuff, it's just kind of a cluster. So I was asking Tom if we can I know that we can't do everything online, but can we just tell people the only way you're getting your decals is if you submit it online? End of story. Not accepting anything else, it has to go through the form from a records perspective. So, and then I asked them, can you expand that? The only place you could put your ARB application would be online. Now, how much does the state mandate, you have to provide that? Because I don't believe there's anything in there that would preclude us from that. Because the only thing would be meeting notices, but we're not moving into that there. Because I even know, like, the collection place, they don't even talk about coupon books, and that's the one that we want to get online, so you can just pull, download and print your coupon book versus sending them out, which I got mine for Turtle Creek, and I already lost it. I don't know what happened to it.
I know. I always misplace mine. I have mine for Turtle Creek this time, but I'm forever misplacing it. But I just do it in the bank, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, so.
So I'm waiting to hear back on his consultation on that. If we have to do like a policy or some kind of resolution to move in that direction, but
But this kind of leads into the ARC, right? Because if we're going to go online for ARB, then we need better tools where you can upload things easier, and it needs to be.
yeah,
It's a little bit where
there'll be
it's
a-
misleading sometimes. Well, I think it's better now, but it used to be that it made you think you uploaded everything, but it really didn't because it was too big.
The
Mhm.
verbiage needs to be simplistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to be simple, yes, we've received it, or,
And there should be the actions in place where you get a confirmation email and an on-screen indicator that says,
Right.
thank you for submission, and wait to hear back in 30 days, or whatever it is on that.
Yeah.
But, again, if we can understand from a holistic perspective, how much, I guess you want to say, leeway we have in terms of moving stuff exclusively
Yeah.
online, that would be.
So have you asked him yet? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in court today,
Okay.
so I didn't think that was a valid excuse, but that's all right.
Right.
I'll talk to him on Friday.
When we need something.
But,
No, I think that's good.
yeah, because I had, said, I just gave him that, we were looking at the labels.
Because we have an ARB that's lost right now,
Well,
right? We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah, I mean, the ARB probably
Processing.
needs a real overhaul in terms of process design end to end. But like an easy one is the labels.
Right.
Because at least then, because all I do basically, I see it come in, I'll print off the PDF, assign the label, email the person it's ready, and drop it off their house, done.
Right.
Now, we're gonna move that to the upfront guards and have Alan do it. Probably in sometime in Q1, they'll have the decals up there, they can do it. And they'll have set times, to, verify where people have to submit their, registration or something like that, and then, new homeowners. What?
Closing documents.
Yeah, that's for a new homeowner. They usually send the closing docs, but I mean, even that one is pretty, those are few and far between, in my opinion. It's the ones that somebody gets a new car, they have a lease car for work, and they're flipping over the car. A lot of people now, either text or email me directly. I want to force them to go do stuff.
Yeah.
So now you have a documented record that you could do a dump of every submission for all the cars.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't want, I'm getting tired. I mean, we go through this every other week, it seems like, with a different, and I'm like, I didn't remember, we have one, I guess, I don't know where that came from. It's like 2011 is the stamp on the bottom of the form, like,
Yeah, we need to update this stuff.
because they're talking about like a security pin, you set a security pin, we don't have a security pin. I think that was if you had a,
You used to have that remote.
Yeah.
Lou was suckered into that. What did it
Yep.
cost you? $30?
Yep.
Something like that.
That was my wish list anyway.
oh, yeah.
What, two of them? Thought they were so good, man. I'm thinking, wow, this is cool.
To open up the
And
gate.
it did all of zero for me.
So I will,
Did it ever work?
Yeah, it did,
you did?
yeah.
So how would that work? What if somebody was in front of you? You would just open it?
No.
Not moving fast enough?
You would wait?
Well, no, I'd be at the light, making a left in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be waiting for the light, and I'd hit the thing, and it would open, I just,
Done it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Safety first. Yeah, so I'll let you guys know what we find out as soon as Tom gets back to me on that. But it's something we definitely need to look at in the coming year, and that is probably going to dovetail into if Leland brings that stuff back in-house, how to make sure the back-end infrastructure and engine supports that correctly. Because I still think, and I've got to send an email on this, the receivers on this stuff are still off. They keep sending, like, the ARB comes to myself and Melinda. It doesn't go to or ARB at Leland, whatever their ARB box is.
Sure.
Now,
And
hopefully we
it's all
change
called
it.
Avalon ARB, I think, too.
No, it's just ARB.
Oh, is it? It used to be Avalon. Everything was Avalon ARB, no matter what street it lived.
Oh, I don't know how they're processing it on that side. That I don't know.
Yeah.
But that would also be something to look at, is if you have the profile set up, any home that's on Woodchase or Hollycrest cannot submit something if that's the case. Because then you can take away any wrong submissions right then and there. You just lock it down, and then it is what it is. But that's something we need to first look at the process as it is, because I know we had that meeting where we did lay out the process from and that's when we redesigned the form. Because the form does look exactly like basically the paper form now with the verbiage, which is a majority is boilerplate on there, I would say.
Needs to be cleaned up. though.
And I don't know, do you ever have folks deviate from that? Is it just, or does everybody just employ the same form from an ARB perspective?
The form that we create, we can customize it to your needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we might
It
want
needs
to.
to be. It
Yeah.
just seems like it's a big CYA, big section there versus more,
Yeah.
encouraging people to do an improvement or something.
User friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that,
It's all that highlighting in yellow and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
needs to,
yeah.
it needs to be
For that to
user friendly.
taken
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have ARB committees that revise it all the time.
okay.
okay, good.
We want to definitely do that, I think.
Just like the verbiage of, whatever the docs say, if it's a 30-day turnaround, 60-day turnaround, that has to be there, but that's it.
Right.
Yeah, but and then the other thing though I think would be nice to add in there is that we really try, and it would be nice to know, to turn it around in 7 days. So I mean, we contractually we have to do 30, but we really try to
Right.
meet within 7 days, and so that we don't hold people's projects up.
Mhm.
So
We'll look at that in the new year and have that as an item to work through.
okay.
Because I think there was ARB process, the violation process, the collection process, the document viewing process. I told them advise on all of those, and I think, was that all of them? major processes.
Yep, violation, ARB, documents, yep.
It's time for all of those, right?
Mhm.
It's been this way from the beginning.
Well, I know the last time the violation process got, I guess, looked at was when John Rex was HOA president for Turtle
Okay.
Creek, which is going on a while now.
And I sent you those.
Yes,
Well, so you
yeah,
can revise
yeah,
them.
I've got them all, I marked them all up. I just wanted to talk with Tom on that, because I know that the collection is obviously mandated from a statute's perspective.
The lien,
Yeah.
but everything else, right, docs.
Yeah, so, but we'll get with that, we'll see what Tom comes back with, work through that.
And that would have timelines and stuff too, okay, because I feel like, you know, why we've been lenient on some people, but I don't know that we've done that, shown that same leniency on others, you know what I mean? I just want to make sure that we're going to follow and treat everybody the same, and,
That's the purpose of the policy.
yeah.
Yeah, because I know that
So-
from on the collection side, they did and this was back when Mike Orlowski was president, I want to say 2012 or 13, is when they came up with the waiving, where you can waive the soft cost,
Right, right.
and they
right.
officially called that out in a collection policy resolution
Okay,
that the
that's
board did
good.
that's out there. So I know that
Mhm.
that was in there recently, which is
That's
fine.
good, yeah.
We don't have that many people ask, and the people who do ask, it's never an issue. It's not like
Right.
it gets abused, but I
Right.
mean, is that kind of stuff we want to make sure is all in one spot. So you can just say, okay, what's the collection policy? Well, here's verbiage,
Well, yeah,
here's a
because see, what I
visual.
think has happened is that, you know, we have homeowners that, you know, want to put a plan together over and over and
Mhm.
over again, and we lose sight sometime of the other 270 some homes, right?
Mhm.
That, you know, that are subsidizing that, basically, so,
Sure.
yeah.
But we'll look at that as part of the overall, I guess you want to say process, review and redesign if
I
necessary.
think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like you brought, when was that dated?
This was the 2013 one, and
Yeah.
this one's by Mike.
Yeah.
This is the collection policy. So obviously the 45 days, that's standard,
Mhm.
right? But then all these other things are drafted from your docs.
Okay. And I don't think we have any issue.
So those are drafted from our covenants, you're saying?
Right, so we
Okay,
pull the
so-
information for the governing documents, but obviously, you know, the 45 days for the intent to lien, that's law, so.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's a minimum, but we could extend that if we wanted, but we have to do
Yes.
at least 45.
No,
No.
No.
it has to be 45 for a
45.
lien.
Oh, has to be, okay.
That's
So
the state.
once the 45 days have expired and the homeowner doesn't pay, then they can file a lien. So that's why the 45
But I'm saying,
days.
but could we say 60 days if we wanted? We just couldn't say 30 days.
I
We
would
have to be more than if we wanted to.
So in that case, you would extend when your collection starts.
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
Instead of
Okay, so it
extending
would
the
trigger, I
intent to
gotcha.
lien, then you, instead of
So
30
you-
days later, you'll do 60 days, then we know to start the collection process at that
I
time.
gotcha, okay.
Right.
I'm not suggesting we do that, I was just trying to understand.
Yeah, makes sense. And a lot of HOAs do it.
Yeah,
Not recommended, but they do
Mhm.
it.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Unless there's some catastrophe financial meltdown, we have
Right.
a ton of, like, 2008, 2009, when we shot up to
Oh.
77,000 of
Correct.
Yeah.
outstanding
Correct.
assessment. There needs to probably be an emergency resolution,
Sure.
at which time you put in the verbiage to say that, you know, once the board feels it's, you know, back to normal, you can revert back.
Bring it
and
back,
they'll-
Sure,
And they'll do
sure.
that, but,
Yeah.
yeah,
Gotcha.
everything, I think this is working fine on that. I mean,
Yeah, well, clearly there's not a problem, right?
no, I've seen a lot worse
Yeah,
around here even,
yeah.
so. So, anything else from the board? New business or items that I may have missed you need an update on?
What's our next step in the rec area? So I know we talked about the sand, is that, we're not gonna order anything right now? Just
well,
wait till we get what we got?
Everything's ordered at this point, so we're waiting on the benches. At that time, we'll do the benches be installed, the table should be in, the replacement table. I'm trying to bunch all the concrete work to be done at once.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I don't want to have 3 different
Because you're gonna get load charges.
Mhm. on that. And I'm waiting on a quote back, I think I had mentioned at the last meeting, at the 3 gates to go into the tennis courts. You know, right now it's just sand and then you step up onto the court. We're gonna lay down a pad, you know, kind of an open pad there with, you know, kind of pavers on each side. I'm waiting on the quote for that, because we'll do that at the same time. And then we got the trash cans to put in, those are in stock and ready to go.
Oh, good.
The replacement there, the pet stations, we'll get those put in at that same time, because everything's going on the concrete pad. I just want it all concrete done one time,
Yeah.
shoot it,
Yeah.
and it's out. And then once all that gets closed out, we can then say, okay, now, let's, and we can still keep running a parallel path on the putting green, obviously, and with that being a bigger ticket item, we're just gonna have to do a lot more due diligence before we come to a really decision.
Well, because we're
point.
gonna want tables there too, right? But not yet, right, when all that comes. So
Yeah,
we'll-
and that would be, to me, that would be then a secondary concrete order
Right,
on that.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it's large enough that it's not gonna be that, trip charge won't be that expensive
Yes.
comparatively.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think, what else was there? Oh, the other thing was the tot lot.
Oh,
Even though the tot facility plaything, I don't know what they call it, the slide thingy that you climb on. I mean, it didn't have any issues when we did the playground inspection report. But I know, it's coming to end of life, as you can tell from, and there's probably gonna be about $500-600 of work to be put back into it. If we have the opportunity, I would recommend, and most of the sales come up around mid to late January with those suppliers, just buy a new one on sale,
Mhm.
which is essentially how this one came to be.
okay.
Because, I mean, like Summit Supply, you can get pretty much the same as we have today, refreshed, and a couple options. And those things usually run 30 grand, and they'll mark them
Mhm.
down to like 9,800.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And because we have the reserves to do it, and just replace it in one shot,
Yeah.
if the right deal comes along.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, now, will they do the flooring too?
We'll still look at that.
Okay.
If we don't make a decision on that, then I'll have the ADA compliant mulch put in like we have to,
Okay.
because they do specify how many inches the mulch has to
Yep.
be with the certain kind of mulch that goes in there.
Mm-hmm.
Brightview
Okay.
usually does that for us. And all I gotta do is call them and they'll do it, because it's actually part of our contract with them.
Okay.
So, but we'll look at the,
Let's
is that the
look at
recycled
Something better.
recycled tires or whatever they use on that?
Yeah, yeah.
Get something like a
Softer.
dark green or something, and to match the color palette.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But we'll look at that, because I mean, it's not that big of a space, if you think about it.
Exactly.
Because then you could drop those barriers, those big,
I know, that'd be nice too.
big barriers, and then
Yeah.
you just have that, and then you don't have to worry about mulch at all. And then the guys, when they come in, they can just blow. Where now,
Yeah.
anything they blow sometimes gets over the curb, and then you got,
But I
Nothing
think
left.
even with our putting green, we could probably negotiate a free bit in there. It's so small, we might be able to.
that's if you went the synthetic route versus the recycled tire,
Mhm.
interlocking tire route.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
I'll add that to the list to get some, because like Orange County, Dr. Phillips Park has a really nice one.
Mhm.
And I'll get
Yes,
that,
they
I'll
do.
pull Orange County's vendor list and see who they, I guess they certified for the supplying
They
them.
have a water feature in theirs too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It is pretty
Kids would
cool
love
though.
that,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, kids would love that
Yeah.
in summer.
I'll be there every day in summer.
Okay, anything else, new business from the board? All right. Okay, I'll open it up to our homeowners who were gracious enough to brave the weather,
Join
the
us.
rain and whatnot out there. Thank you for coming. Any items from the floor?
Well, I had written to you before about that crepe myrtle
Mm-hmm.
plant that just ended like a couple of houses before my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to know why it did not extend a little bit further to make it seem more uniform. I would like to see one planted back there, another one.
Yeah, so, and I think I may have mentioned this before, when we had Brightview's the one who marked it off, they had a certain spot to start, based on where the plants in the front are. They started, and then they walked it off, and they had a certain amount for each side. So, based upon that, that was their scope, and they did the irrigation to support that, and they planted the trees at the interval that, that we felt was the right, I guess you want to say, spacing between them for that side of the wall. So,
And it's just such a big space left from where the last tree is planted, as opposed to what's left on the houses that's left my house and Betty Strasberg's house and whatnot. I just would like to see another one planted.
And that's something we would have to look at in the future, because at this point, you know, we had the scope, we executed the scope, and we had closed it out. To deploy them to do one more tree and irrigation retrofit is gonna be cost prohibitive, just because of the overhead that comes with that. When they were planning 10 of them or whatever we had ordered for each side, that was, you know, that was the scope that we had them to make sure we got the best price and bang for the buck, so to speak, and didn't get killed on overhead.
I'm not satisfied with this one.
Unless somebody has anything different, I mean,
No,
Yeah, because
no.
I mean, there's the irrigation stops there, the whole bit, right? It would be involved even.
irrigation retrofit is minimum $395.
Mhm.
And I also have to speak with the people from Brightview when they come to mow the lawn between my fence and the
Mhm.
wall. Because wherever the mower goes, that's where they usually would just stop. So the grass would just grow, and so every time they come, I basically have to go out and just remind them to just extend either the hand mower and
And that's that,
Even
it
Nancy
looks
had to
like a
speak with
pizza,
them.
it looks like
it's
the
like a
pizza
triangle.
slice. Yeah.
Yeah. So they usually don't go to the end unless I tell them sometimes, you know, you have to just go beyond that. The last time Nancy had to speak with them about it when I was out of town.
Good.
Who spoke about it?
Nancy was there, Amandroy, something.
Oh, uh-huh.
So,
I'm
she
te-
was, she was watching the back of the house for me while I was away, because we were gone for like a month and a half.
Mhm.
So I asked her to just, you know, reiterate what I had told them. So even today I had to speak with them, and the guy came with the hand one and the red one.
Okay, I'm emailing their management now. So I wanna put on the what's it called? The list of items that they go through every week, or every other week right now, since it's a bi-weekly for the off-season.
And then you spoke about the mailboxes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to really fix ours. When it opens up, it just makes so much noise.
Oh, you
So I
got
don't know if I
like
need to
mine
put a
where
spray.
Mine is too,
it
yeah.
wakes the dead when they
Yeah.
open that thing
Yeah,
up.
right. So I don't know if we have to do we have to change it? What?
Yeah.
We just need to know what we have to do.
Yeah, there's a vendor, and I can send you the information,
Okay.
because they have like our model number and all the
Okay.
parts that come with it.
Is it creative mailboxes?
Yeah, creative mailboxes. And you just tell me with Turtle Creek, and they'll have all the information, like every part number and everything. They may just have you replace, or send you a replacement front
Door.
lid that
Mhm.
comes with the hinge on the bottom. I don't know, but that would be, I guess, the first place to start on that.
Mhm.
Because I've even put like lithium grease in mine, and it's still
And
on
it's
the
still,
trying to-
I was gonna
That'd
ask
be
you if it
D40.
works, yeah, if that
It-
works.
it's still,
D40,
How
uh,
can I put it, but really?
But sometimes you can do that and then it won't stay closed, right?
Mhm.
It gets
Yeah.
too loose, right?
Yeah, but it's, you know, there's,
I
I know
need to
mine's
do mine
extremely
too.
loud too.
Well, I'd like
Make
to
a lot
kind of
of
know if we're gonna do that painting thing in the mailboxes, right? Because I need to
Mhm.
redo mine. I'll probably work on mine this spring, so if we know, then I'll,
Yeah, we can look into that.
yeah.
I just have two other things.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing was, I know when you guys did the tree trimming,
Mm-hmm.
the lady, I think she's away, the house is rented next to my house. Well, 10914, right
Okay.
next to us is rented.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so when the homes, the trees were trimmed, I know you had to put in a request,
Mm-hmm.
and no one put in a request for her. So the branches still just overlap on my driveway. It's just so much acorns and different things that are coming over, because hers were not trimmed.
Okay.
My tree was not trimmed, because no one was there to direct them or tell them. And if you're not on the list, it wasn't done.
Yeah, so it was 10914.
I'm 10914,
Okay.
and the one that's right next to it.
All right, I can take a look at it
Okay.
and wait till we get a request and more requests in, because then we'll deploy the folks to come out and do it in the work bucket
Okay.
of activities. on
So
that.
what's the time frame, so Shirley sees?
Oh no, I don't. This is the
We
only
wait
request I have.
until we
in.
get a bucket of work.
It'll
and then
depend
we-
on multiple, yeah. So we'll have to get multiple trimmings,
Yeah. But
before
what do
we
you
can.
do in cases when the homeowners are not there, the home is rented or whatever?
Yeah.
Who would put in those requests? That's my
But we had the
question. There were
arborists look
few.
at all the trees, right?
Well, I mean,
for
what-
damage.
Well, when it
Right.
comes to requests, if the home is being rented, we usually we have their management company on emails, we have the homeowner, the original homeowner, in 99% of the cases on there with their email. So they're getting the communications. They're just not
They
doing
do not do
anything.
anything,
Yeah.
because then it falls on the other person, because I'm constantly cleaning up where their branches and all the other crap comes over, and the
But
renters are
we've
not gonna
had
be
the
doing it.
arborists look at, in terms of branches that need to come off, right? Like we had them go through that,
Yeah,
that
but-
we wouldn't need a request on that, but that's maybe not what.
No, because that was streets and sidewalks, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
But
was a
that's-
So
different
you-
scope.
Yeah,
It was
you were
streets
just
and sidewalks.
you were just looking at the homes that made the request.
Right.
And what I would recommend is, it's been, I want to say 4 years since we had Tom McCubbin come out and do an analysis of an inventory of all the trees. We should probably have somebody come out in January, February, do us another report, so we have it on a cycle.
Yeah.
Because then we'll schedule it in May is the traditional month we do all every other year, the larger trimming. And then, that we can address the overhang there. I know in a lot of the cases that we did the cutting this past September, October timeframe, we had to stop because they're taking on more than 20% on some of them. We can't do that to stress the tree.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember
And
that.
even then, I've seen a couple of them pop, those suckers, which is a sign of stress within the tree. So,
Okay.
And then the only other thing was the dog poop. I'm seeing dog poop on our lawn quite a bit,
mhm.
and I don't want to be forced to have to put the cameras. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a security system, but now I'm thinking that's the only thing that's left to do, because, they're not picking up after their dogs a lot. I mean, I don't know if we need to send some kind of memo out to the homeowners. I don't think it's right. I go out and I try to clean up and
Mhm.
I try to do everything, and I don't want to clean somebody else's dog poop. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
I agree. And
That's
what I can do is I'll put a note and dedicate part of the newsletter for the section as a reminder, and then that gets posted on the website, and then I can put something out on Twitter too. And so everybody there's some method of communication to say, remember to pick up after your pet.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get this, like some of the HOAs that I've talked to, they have this doggy poop DNA.
It's called paw prints.
Yeah, paw prints. So if you leave it on like if you get a sample and all the dogs are registered, they can trace it back to the dog via DNA. So-
Oh my gosh.
You want to go out there, I mean, I want to go there, I want
Yeah.
to do my weeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rake, I don't want to keep
No,
getting
no.
into dog poop. I'm just
No,
tired of it.
nobody wants to come walking out and say you're not paying attention, you step in a big pile of poop.
Yeah.
So
It's
I'll
my
put that in the newsletter comes out within the next couple days. I'll put it in there and make it a point to put on the Twitter as well as the website landing page too. I'll do that.
And the last thing is like, what is the policy for the homes that are being sold? Is there like a certain price for your home that's within the confines of Turtle Creek or the HOA? So you can just sell your house for anything you want, even if it's like $200,000, and it doesn't matter.
That falls under real estate.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
a very
different law.
that's a very different type of, if you wanna sell your house for $1 to someone, you could, I mean,
Well, actually,
that's
we
just
have that a
how-
lot. You
Doesn't
sell
it
it
just
to
bring
the
down the values
estate.
of the other homes, because
Yep,
that's what
now,
I'm seeing now.
now, because they are one, from my real estate background, we do an averaging of the homes anyway.
Okay.
It does bring down value,
That's pretty
but
good.
we still average
Yeah.
all the homes being sold, and usually
I think
when
I
we
have it on
see
the
one
website,
that
too.
is so far out,
Mhm.
it's considered into it. It's like, okay, that's that home had something that was off. We usually look at the main averaging of homes. So it is unfortunate if someone has their home very, very low because they want to sell it
But
fast and
many
fast
people
and fast.
sell their home to
that's-
the estate for $1, right?
Yeah,
Like you sell
yeah.
it to the trust, right, for
It's,
$1. So I mean, you can't stop that.
It's just something that there's not much we can do about it. If someone wants to sell their home, like she's saying, if they want to sell it for $1, they can. That's just that's everyone's right with their property, So.
No, sorry.
But yeah, we try and keep making improvements to the community so that we keep values up. We try to do that as much as we can, is to keep our values up. So I understand. Alrighty. Do you have anything? No. All right.
We good?
Yep. I believe so.
All right. If that is all, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:45 p.m.
I'll second
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yep.
that. See you, bye.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.